Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard DFS show. Ali, Kevin, Mags here with you this week to guide you through week 12. Lads, how are you doing? Kev, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, let's make some money. It's the best slate of the season. I made so much money off it last year. I'm not bragging, but I did make a ton. About $15 jokes. But I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. We've got some amazing picks. It's an interesting show. Looking forward to it. How about you boys?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm fired up for this. You guys have been hyping me up about this Thanksgiving slate. This is my first ever Thanksgiving slate, so I can't wait to get into it. Fired up.
It's literally the best evening of the whole season. I absolutely love it. Cannot wait for it to begin. But before that, we need to pick sensibly, and we need to pick the guys that are going to win us more money, so Kev can brag about it the next year that he won money again. So we're going to be talking you through week 12 of the DFS slate, where this week for 1 week only, we're going to preview the Thanksgiving slate. So we're going to be picking one guy for the Thanksgiving slate and one guy for the main slate. We're going to be highlighting our key plays at each position for both cash, which we'll start with, and then later we're going to talk about tournament contest, also known as GPP. So we'll start with the cash lineups, where we're looking for popular plays, typically high ownership, players with a high weekly floor. We don't want them to fail, and we're only trying to beat half the field. So if you're 51st%, that's absolutely fine. We just want to you don't want to finish in first place, but you also don't want to finish in the bottom 50%. So, Kev, over to you for your quarterbacks, your Thanksgiving, and one for your main slate.
Yeah, anybody that knows me, and I try and slide things in there on the sly, a bit like Watson. But anyway, but enough of that. When I said boys, I put a bit of an emphasis on boys, and as much as I do love the Thanksgiving slate, we do have to start with them Cowboys, don't we? We have to start with Dak Prescott. 6,800. He's playing the Commanders at home. He's going to be so popular. I think it's the easiest matchup on the slate. I just think in cash, he's right up there in terms of cost, but he's going to be popular. He's got a great matchup. He's got the weapons. You're just hoping that the Commanders do something to keep it a competitive game. Otherwise, it'll still be fine for cash, but you just want that a little bit extra to really push you towards the prize in cash. And then thinking about main slate, a guy that's absolutely flying up dynasty rankings is CJ Stroud, 7,700 against the Jags. People are tipping this as the Texans taking over the division, and this is them coming of age pretty quick and really starting that push towards the playoffs. And CJ Stroud as a potential MVP on the year. So I'll have to give that credit to a guy called FF Dynasty Grill for taking out this week. I think Stroud's going to be massively popular against the Jags, who are a beatable matchup. It's a divisional game, so anything could happen, but let's just hope Trevor Lawrence can keep up that pace and make it an interesting enough game for your DFS purposes this week.
Yeah, absolutely love these picks for more than one reason. Firstly, because I think these were actually my picks last week as well, which they've been so hot lately, these two, and they've been keeping you cashing every single week. So why change it? Especially Dak at 6,800 on Thanksgiving against the Washington Commanders. I mean, Danny DeVito had himself a game against the Commanders this week, and Dak Prescott is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL right now. His link up with CD Lamb, absolutely brilliant. So keep that rolling with Sam Howell, who's chucking the ball at the highest rate in the NFL. I know before the start of this week, he had the highest passing yardage in the NFL, which is crazy. He's going to keep slinging it. Dak's going to keep scoring touchdowns. And then, CJ Stroud, I think he's working himself into the MVP conversation. If he wins this division with the Texans, I think that is an amazing achievement. Playing against Jacksonville, really like it because Trevor Lawrence, was he number one quarterback this week, or he was right up there with his 2 rushing touchdowns, had a fantastic week. So he's looking back. This game could hit the over. His price is going up, CJ Stroud at 7,700, but I think it's going to be a popular play and someone that I'm looking for my cash lineup. So really like those two. Move to the cash running backs and over to you, Mags.
Yeah, cash running backs. I mean, on the Thanksgiving slate, Christian McCaffrey's there, right? 8,700. I think that's slightly cheaper than Christian McCaffrey has been before as well, for whatever reason. So 8,700 going up against the Seattle Seahawks, who, I mean, there weren't really a huge amount of teams that are necessarily terrible against the run on that slate. So I just thought, hey, let's just go with the best running back there. And it's him. It's Christian McCaffrey. Always got a chance to, break the slate. And of course, he'll be super popular. On the main slate, I mean, death, taxes, and pick running backs against the Broncos, right? Like, that's just what you got to do. Kareem Hunt is sitting there. He's the cheaper of the two options on the Browns, so I put him in. I've got no problem if you want to put in Jerome Ford, but they're seeing about the same amount of carries. Kareem Hunt seeing a bit more targets than Ford at the minute, so save yourself a couple of $100, put in Kareem Hunt against the Broncos, and he's sure to do pretty well.
Yeah, again, love these picks. Christian McCaffrey is a no-brainer. I think he's slightly cheaper because there's obviously a lot less player pool to choose from.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Thanksgiving slate, he's nearly $2,000 more expensive than the next most expensive, which is Jahmyr Gibbs, I believe, $1,900 more than him. But I mean, it's a no-brainer. Christian McCaffrey is giving you, and it's like clockwork. It's 20+ points every single week. He's not letting you down. You've got a Seattle team that might not be starting Geno Smith. I think it's going to be absolutely slapped by the 49ers in this divisional matchup. So, yeah, it's a no-brainer. You want him on your team because you want that 20-25+ points on your roster. And then Kareem Hunt, really like it. The Browns are just running the ball a hell of a lot. Top 2 rate in the NFL this season. See, Deshaun Watson is out now. They're leaning on the run game, Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is, I suspect, the cheaper one of the two, and the guy that's been getting the touchdowns lately. So, you want that against the Denver Broncos that have shown signs of life. To be honest, their offense is actually putting up points. So, I like that scenario for this game, and at 4,800 is a great price and someone that will be probably different to what a lot of the popular plays is. So, really like that. We'll move on to the cash wide receivers. So, over to me, and we're going for Dak as our no-brainer on the Thanksgiving slate. CeeDee Lamb is pretty much a no-brainer. He's 8,700 against the Commanders, who have been just abysmal, just against the wide receiver position this year. I think they will be able to put up points on the Cowboys. I don't think it's going to be all one way, but there's going to be turnovers. There's going to be plenty of scoring opportunities for Dak to link up with CeeDee. CeeDee was a full participant in training today, so I think it's going to be wheels up for CeeDee. There's going to be no limitations to his game. So CeeDee Lamb, I think is going to be an incredibly popular play. So I want him in there at 8,700. And then for the main slate, I'm going to go with Michael Pittman. This is 6,800 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, obviously in that dome. Really like the price at 6,800. You're not having to pay up the likes of the Tyreek Hill prices. You're getting someone the sub 7K that his targets the last 6 games with Gardner Minshew in the lineup: 11, 14, 5, 13, 8, and 12, and he's averaging just under 17 points per game, which is really great. Gives you that safe floor. You're not having to pay up. The Bucs defense is incredibly banged up. Both their cornerbacks might not be starting in this game. Levante David's probably not starting either. And then you look at the Indianapolis games, they've been smashing the over this year. They've been games that have been really competitive. Some of them have been going to overtime. So this is the game that I'm targeting this week. And someone that is cheap enough, that's giving you that safe floor, is Michael Pittman. So I want him in there in the main slate. Move over across to the flex positions and over to you, Kev.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, that the play pool is really small, so just got to think who's going to stand out. I went for Jaden Reed at 4,200 at the Lions. I think people will be expecting the Lions to walk away, to run away with this one actually, which it leads into the Packers pass game, playing it in catch-up mode as such. I was close to picking Romeo Dobbs, but I just feel saving $800. Jaden Reed's going to be the pick. He's on a bit of a streak in terms of great performances the past couple of weeks. So that's that's the play for me to do that. And I know we speak about cash here, but just thinking bigger picture, if you're putting him in your cash lineups, you could potentially be in a GPP lineup, and it just opens the door to McCaffrey, which I think, he's going to be popular. But in that Thanksgiving slate, I do want to be in on McCaffrey. I'm not going to try and fade him in that matchup. Second guy, main slate flex. Going for someone that's getting tons of hype on X. It's Jaylen Warren, 5,400 at the Bengals. There is a bit of cloudiness now with the changing of the OC there. Matt Canada's been fired. Maybe the new guy will still have an affinity to Najee Harris, but if he's got any brains about him, he'll be at least keeping it as it is, if not swinging it more to a Jaylen Warren as well. So I think he's going to be massively popular. He's on a tear. He did excellent against one of the toughest defenses in the league in the Browns. So 5,400. Yes, he might only get 10 to 12 touches, and you're ideally wanting more in cash, but I just feel that we've seen the explosiveness, we've seen what he can do with limited touches. If that ends up being a higher workload with the new OC, you're absolutely killing it in cash.
Yeah, you're a smart guy, Kev, because I think accidentally I've doubled down on Jaden Reed in one of my picks later on. Absolutely love that play this week on the slate. We'll be winning money with Jaden Reed, let me tell you. Love that game. Love the scenario that Jaden Reed is in. Love his price. Yeah, I'll touch on him a little bit later, but love the pick. And then Jaylen Warren, as you mentioned, Matt Canada finally given his marching orders. Whoever's going to be in charge this week needs to, they've seen it with their own eyes that Jaylen Warren his metrics are, I saw that there's 5 metrics. He's number 1 in the NFL the past sort of 5 or 6 weeks. It's been incredible. And at 5,400, really like that price. He's coming up against the Bengals. That's obviously not going to have Joe Burrow. They're starting Jake Browning. So it's not going to be a scenario where the Bengals are 2 or 3 scores up on the Steelers. It's going to be a close game, I feel, because Kenny Pickett can't move the ball either. So they're going to rely on Jaylen Warren for them explosive runs. And if he gives you a couple, then you're really happy in this scenario for your flex play. So really like that. We'll move to the tight end. So over to you, Mags.
Yeah, Thanksgiving slate gave me that matchup we talked about already. We're going to go back to the Cowboys Commanders. Well, I'm going to take a guy that's been super impressive this year, Jake Ferguson. He's been looking great this year, linking up really well with Dak Prescott. And you can get him for 3,900, which I think is very reasonable indeed. Expect him to get stuck in. If he scores you a touchdown, which in a game, I'm expecting this to be a bit of a shootout we talked about before, right? Both these guys pretty much turning into these gunslinger quarterbacks. So expect Jake Ferguson to get involved there, and at 3,900, it's a nice price. And on the main slate, we have the main event himself, Dalton Kincaid, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, 5,300. The Eagles, shot everywhere. I had to double check a couple of sites to make sure. But yeah, the Eagles are really bad at giving away points to, these like passing yards and these receivers coming in. I know Kincaid is listed as a tight end, but make no mistake, he's a big receiver. Like, that's where he's going to be playing. He's not throwing blocks out there. So I expect Dalton Kincaid to do quite well up against the Eagles as that second option in that Bills offense. And at 5,300, you can get in a pretty good deal.
I'm speechless. I'm absolutely speechless. I love it. Jake Ferguson is, again, I feel like he's forever undervalued on DFS.
Yeah.
I think that he's a really viable pass option for Dak Prescott, and it just gives you a cheap option in that game that I think could go off. And at 3,900, really, really like that. And yeah, Dalton Kincaid. The Eagles I think they're 32nd against wide receivers. Dalton Kincaid is not playing a typical tight end role. So you've also got the Bills that are incredibly desperate right now to put up points. And they're going to target the guys that are showing up right now. So Dalton Kincaid is really performing well. He's the second option on that team. Gabe Davis is boom bust. Dalton Kincaid is giving you a safe floor, giving you plenty of targets each week. So yeah, really like that game. And obviously, the Eagles are going to put up plenty of points. So Josh Allen is going to have to rely on Kincaid, not just Diggs, to move the ball. So yeah, really like that pick. We'll round out the cash plays with the defense. So we've picked the Cowboys 3,800 versus Washington. We've got full house on, I think, every single Cowboys option in this Thanksgiving slate. It was just an easy pick, really. I think they're the most expensive or the second most expensive on the slate. But I just think you look at the Commanders last week, Howell threw 3 interceptions against the Giants defense. The Giants defense was really high scoring. I think there was another couple of turnovers thrown in there. So I just think that the Cowboys are giving you such a safe baseline this week, and that they always have the ability, the Cowboys, to go off. I just think that they can put up 20, 25 points in any given slate, and at 3,800, I think it's workable where you can put them in. And then we go to the main slate. I've gone for the Steelers at 3,700. Not one of the most expensive, but they're getting up there. I had them in this week. They done me well against the Browns. Again, they're up against another backup quarterback in Jake Browning for the Bengals. This Steelers defense played really tough last week. They caused a couple of turnovers, and I think they'll get another couple from Jake Brown and this Bengals offense. So at 3,700, again, they've got the ability to turn the ball over and put up plenty of points. So I think it's probably worth paying up for the Steelers at 3,700. We'll move to the tournament, the GPP lineup. So this is where we make our money, and we're looking for low overall owner percentage with unique plays. We want to get slightly different to everybody else. You've got stacks and correlations for days. We're trying to be the number one. If you're not the number one, then I'm not interested. I'm aiming to be the number one scorer and pick up the big money in each given week. So, Kev, we'll move to you for the GPP quarterback plays.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this guy, if Geno Smith plays this week, he'll be the cheapest starting QB option. It's Jordan Love at 5,500 at the Lions. So it ties in a little bit what I said about Jaden Reed. Just see him playing from behind. I see him being a pass funnel sort of game. Jordan Love, he's a little bit like cranberry sauce on your turkey. Like, some people love him, some people despise him. I think he's got the potential to make it a really tasty afternoon for you if you're playing him in GPP. The fact that he's been 4x, which means 4 times his price for 3 times already this season, which I think it's a great yardstick. Yeah, it might only be 25 points as the ceiling, but yeah, if you take him like a Jordan Love and you want to stack him with any of the Packers weapons, that's a cheap stack. You're gonna have the option to put McCaffrey in there. Maybe you can stick in a CD Lamb or something like that as well, and just really pay down at the other spots. But I think it opens up so much for you by playing Love. I don't think a ton will be on him because, like I said, cranberry sauce. But yeah, it's someone I really like on Thanksgiving. Main slate. Speaking of slate, I slated this guy, I think it was last week, saying he's a bust for this season, and he has his best performance of all time. Trevor Lawrence, 6,400 at the Texans. I'm hoping it's a shootout. I think it could be a shootout as well. Coming off his biggest performance, running the football, in terms of the scrambling, the design runs, etc. So I like the ceiling. Again, I think people will be more on the Stroud side. So play Trevor. You're taking that leverage, and you're getting a lot of money in your pocket as well to do some damage elsewhere.
Yeah, let me tell you, I love cranberry sauce. So Jordan Love is someone that is definitely tasty for this week at 5,500. You've got to look at the last 2 or 3 weeks. As you mentioned, he has 4x, 4 times his price. He's hit, and this is what you want. You want to be able to get different, and you want to be able to put the studs in your lineup. And a lot of people won't be able to afford the Dak CD Lamb stack. Well, this is a way of getting different. Jordan Love is not going to be very high owned, I feel, and I like that matchup. You look at Justin Fields was able to put up plenty of points last week on the Detroit Lions. They're sometimes not the best defense. Sometimes they show up. The Ravens, I know they absolutely smashed them. So yeah, really like that. And the stacking potential is unlimited with the cheap wide receivers there. And then Trev is definitely a way of getting different. The Houston games are absolutely smashing the over. They're putting up so many points, and I think Trevor has got a point to prove. This is a game that means a hell of a lot. And Ridley, he came back in a big way last week. You've got Zay Jones returning, which is another big weapon for Trevor Lawrence, and obviously Christian Kirk there as well, the safe pair of hands, and Evan Ingram. So there's plenty of weapons for Trev. And yeah, again, it's another way of getting different and moving off CJ Stroud and his 1,300, is a lot cheaper than CJ Stroud. So yeah, really like them picks. We'll move to the GPP running back plays, and over to you, Mags.
I mean, speaking of DFS making money, hopefully if you listen to the Dynasty Hot Seat and I told you I'm dropping Calvin Ridley everywhere, you should put money on him going off, you did that and listened to me, because it was almost a guarantee that was going to happen the second I took him out of most of my lineups. But let's see if we can make you some more money on some running backs. Thanksgiving Slate, I'm going Jameer Gibbs, right? This guy is... I just love that we haven't just seen David Montgomery come in and just take over like he was before. Gibbs is like staying consistent, looking better and better each week. I still think we're due like he's definitely got an absolutely bonkers game in him, right? I feel like he could really explode and completely break the slate, and it could be this game against Green Bay Packers, so I'm happy to put him in the tournament plays for sure. On the main slate, this is someone I think will be low owned because people are writing him off, but you can't write off the king. Derrick Henry playing against the absolutely hopeless Carolina Panthers. This could be the big Derrick Henry bounce back game. He's had 2 terrible games in a row. I still think there must be some juice left, right? He can't be that good only a couple of months ago and be this bad now. There must be some juice there. I think he's going to smash against the Carolina Panthers. And I think, most importantly, I think he's going to be low owned because people might be a little bit afraid at the price of $6,000. I'm going for it.
Yeah, you're a smart guy, Mags. I feel like the Detroit backfield is Dave Montgomery, and I think is definitely fantasy viable. He's been scoring touchdowns every single week and putting up good points, but I just feel like he's letting loose. The grip is loosening on the starting running back job, and it's sort of clawing onto Gibbs, trying to keep being relevant. But sooner or later, Gibbs is going to overtake him, and it's not going to be 50-50. It's going to be more 60-40, and 40% of Montgomery is nowhere near 60% of what Gibbs is going to give you. So at 6,800, it's worth that price because there is a breakout game coming. It's going to be slightly what he had when Montgomery wasn't there. And I just think it helps each other. It helps Montgomery being there for the tough yardage and Gibbs coming in and breaking off the 50-yard runs and the big catches. So really like that pick because the ceiling is unlimited for Gibbs. And yeah, Derrick Henry, 6,400. I mean, this is an unreal price really for someone as, elite as Derrick Henry. This time of year when it's getting colder, it couldn't be a better matchup. The Carolina Panthers, I think, are probably the worst. They give up the most points to fantasy running backs. They even made Tony Pollard relevant this week. So that just shows you how terrible they are. So yeah, pencil in Derrick Henry for a big 100-yard game and a touchdown or 2. Really like that. And at 6,400, yeah, he's really cheap. So yeah, we'll move to the GPP wide receiver plays, and over to me. This is a guy that Kev has already mentioned and bigged up. I think he's viable for both formats. You're a smart guy, Kev. I want him in GPP as well at 4,200. It just allows you to pay up at the wide receiver position to have one of the studs in there as well. And just look at the stats since the bye week. You often see this with rookies, a bit like Dalton Kincaid. Since the bye week, he's been the Packers wide receiver 1 in terms of fantasy points per game. Wide receiver 11 in the NFL in them 5 weeks. Wide receiver 11 has been a wide receiver 1 in the past 5 weeks, averaging 13.8 points per game. So at 4,200, he's 3xing, he's 3 times in that every single week as a baseline. And I just think it's always going to be up and down with Jordan Love. We know that. But recently, it's been a lot more up than it has been down. And it's in a game environment where it's in Detroit. You know that Jared Goff is going to put up points in that dome. It's going to be a game where Jordan Love has to go back and pass heavily. And I just think I'd rather have Jordan Reed at 4,200. Christian Watson is incredibly hard to trust at his price. Romeo Dobbs is at 5K, so $800 more. I'll take the rookie that's the arrows firmly pointing up on. And then main slate, I've gone really cheap, but a guy that really paid off this week, Khalil Shakir. 3,600, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, your Eagles, Kev. But it's a matchup that has been really favourable for wide receivers. The Eagles, I mean, they're the second highest scoring offense in the NFL this year. You know they're going to put up points. The Buffalo Bills defense has not been what it was the previous few years, so they're going to be able to score on the Bills. And Josh Allen is going to have to throw a ton, and Khalil Shakir, he really benefited from the new change in OC this past week, gave him a new lease of life, 115 receiving yards. It wasn't just three catches, so but it was a touchdown in there as well. Really high scoring game. He's got that breakaway ability that we want in GPP, and if you need a cheap option, there's not much better than Shakir, the slot receiver at 3,600 for the Bills. I just think they're desperate, and it gives you a chance to, if you want to have a bring back on that game, if you've got the Philly stack, then put Shakir on the other side, and it could be a nice bring back option for yourself at a very cheap price. So we'll move to flex position, Kev. So your flex GPP for Thanksgiving and main slate.
Yeah, I mean, for Thanksgiving, it's a guy that I'm not like massive fan of, but I just think it's just getting in the mindset of trying to get different, and people, when they're picking the lineups on DraftKings, they'll see that little red number 2 next to the ranking of how tough the matchup is, and it's going against the Cowboys, which I think are an amazing play this week as well. But scary Terry McLaurin, 5,400 at Dallas. I just think that, like we've mentioned, that we expect it to be a play from behind sort of Commanders game. We know that Sam Howell's willing to sling it all over and 40, 50 pass attempts a game. We've not quite had the McLaurin breakout yet, and it's coming, but it's just, is it this week? It's a tough matchup. I appreciate that, but just on a ownership side, I think it's going to be really low. I think people will be drawn to Dotson, who's cheaper, who's had touchdowns, who's had pretty decent games. But yeah, let's go for Terry McLaurin. I think he's got that game in him that we're going to see very soon. Second guy, main slate, Demario Douglas. Like, who would pick a Patriots player in any lineup in any week? That's why I'm thinking of sticking him in the flex. 4,400. He's playing at the Giants again. I think with the Tommy DeVito, Saquon Barkley Renaissance, that's a game where he's going to be. They're going to be playing from behind the Patriots. I don't think they're very good at the moment. Will it be Zappy? Will it be Mac Jones? We don't know. But Demario Douglas is really pulling away as the wide receiver one on that team. Poor Juju. What a miss that was from me. But yeah, 4,400. I think it's a great price. And people aren't going to be on it, so get on it.
Yeah, we're definitely going different with these picks. I think you've nailed it with Terry McLaurin in the fact that Jahan Dotson has been very boom or bust this year, but I think a lot of people will gravitate towards Dotson because of what he's shown in the past and that ability to break off a big pass. I think Scary Terry is a great play against the Cowboys, who you can pass on the Cowboys. They're going to have to pass on the Cowboys. The passing volume is there. I think you've absolutely nailed it. And a 5,400, really affordable price to fit some other decent players in there as well. You're going to have to get different on this Thanksgiving slate because there's going to be so much chalk because there's only the 3 games. I just think it's a great pick and someone to get different on. And getting different on, Demario Douglas. Nobody is gravitating towards Patriots players right now. Ramondre perhaps, but definitely not the wide receivers. It's been pretty disgusting. Other than Demario Pop Douglas, he's been the guy, the wide receiver one, the first target. And at 4,400, his price doesn't ever seem to rise up. So why not fit him in as that cheap option? Really like that against the Giants, and he's going to be incredibly low owned. So you're going to get different, and if you get 10, 12 points, perhaps more from him, you're going to be really happy with that, and it's going to be good leverage on any other players that obviously won't have him in their lineups. So we'll move on to the tight end position, and over to you, Mags.
A Thanksgiving one, tournament play. How can you not just pick like the king of tournament players? George Kittle, it's all or nothing. Like, he's going to win you this or probably lose you it. But, I mean, that's the whole, but you want to be first or you want to be last, right? He's going up $6,000, going up against Seattle Seahawks, as we talked about before. I think this is just the guy that really stood out to me as someone who could potentially win me that tournament. Might not be too different, but he's the kind of guy that if you don't really have a chance of winning it anyway, because he could just go absolutely off against the Seahawks like he can do any week. On the main slate, Kev, you're going to love this one. I got David Njoku at 4,100 going up against the Denver Broncos. Just thinking could be a new quarterback in there. We don't know who it's going to be. Especially if we do get Flacco in there with his noodle arm, he's going to be looking for like the closest player available, which should be David Njoku coming in there. So I just think, again, good matchup against the Broncos. Could be a bit of a shootout because the Broncos, like you said, have been coming on offensively. So could be interesting to see where that goes. But I think Njoku is due a big game, and I think with this new quarterback, he could be a good safety blanket for whoever's throwing the ball.
Yeah, it's a hard one with Kittle because the last 3 weeks, if you've not had him in your lineup, then you're really not doing yourself any favors because Kittle has had the 3 explosion games, 20 plus the last 3 weeks. So it's difficult not to have him in your lineup, despite how disgusting it can feel right sometimes because he's going to burn you. But GPP, you need to be last or you need to be first. You're looking to be number one. So George Kittle is the tight end that probably has the highest ceiling on this Thanksgiving slate. So naturally, you want him in your lineup. And I think, they're going to beat up on Seattle. There's going to be touchdowns to go round. And we saw this week, he had the touchdown and he had a really nice week against the Bucs. So I think it's going to continue. So at 6K, it's a no-brainer. And then, David Njoku, this is the ideal position of getting slightly different. I think a lot of people aren't going to be looking at Njoku. I think he's had overall a disappointing year, but he's always that touchdown target in the red zone. We've done well this year targeting players against the Broncos, and especially with them now looking. Russell Wilson is coming out and he's slinging it, and he's got his confidence back. He's acting a bit cocky now, so there's going to be points in this game, I feel, and why not David Njoku? If he scores you a touchdown, it's going to pay off, and it's going to be different to a lot of other people. So why not? And we'll round up the picks for the GPP with the defense, and I've gone for the 49ers, 3,600 at the Seattle Seahawks, so slightly cheaper than the Cowboys. Geno Smith is a big injury doubt this week. There's fears that he will miss the game. Even if he comes into the game, he's not 100%. So really like the 49ers. I just think they caused turnovers against the Buccaneers. They had even more dropped interceptions that they should have had. I just think they could cause havoc with the Seahawks, especially if it's not Geno Smith. I think that could be a popular play. But again, a bit like Kittle, if you haven't got them in your lineup and they put up 20 points, you're going to be kicking yourself. So like that on Thanksgiving. And then main slate, I've gone slightly different. This is the cheapest defense on the slate. It's just 2,600. The Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I just remember this stat because it's quite funny how the Texans are Trevor Lawrence's bogey team. He absolutely hates playing the Texans. His career stats, I think he's won 1, lost 3, and he's threw 4 touchdowns to 7 picks against the Texans.
Wow.
For some reason, they have a stranglehold on him. And at 2,600, a lot of people aren't going to be looking that way. They're going to be looking at what Trevor Lawrence was able to do last week. So just a way of getting different, and the cheapest defense on the slate. I really like that at 2,600.
Scrap the Trevor pick.
Yeah, not this week. We'll round up the show with our picks of the week. So, Kev, over to yours. And I had to put some love hearts on this pick because, it's beautiful.
I mean, I know the grill's had the drill in his mouth, so it's been to the dentist, by the way. But I had to play up to to him tonight, and it were a Bucks player, wasn't it? Rashad White, 6,100. He's at the Colts. He's done amazing in the past 4 or 5 weeks in particular. Just so solid, such a great floor, great ceiling combo. He's getting used a ton in the pass game. They're beatable on the ground as well, the Colts. So I just think whichever way the game goes, it's going to be involved. And yeah, we've probably not seen the mega explosive type week, but if the game's expecting it how I think it could go and be a bit of a shootout, 6,100 is going to be a lovely price for this player.
Oh yes, it is. He's going to be catching more passes this week. I just feel that game is going to hit the over this week, and there's going to be so many opportunities for Rashad White to score, not just to run in touchdowns because it's not a very good run defense, but just catch passes and rack up the PPR points. So love it. Mags, over to you for your pick of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit different this week. It kind of depends on the status of Cooper Kupp, but I think he's looking like he's not going to play. Give me Tutu Atwell at 4,100 going up against the Arizona Cardinals, just because what we've seen already, when Cooper Kupp is out and Matthew Stafford is playing, Tutu Atwell plays really well. So I think what we've seen before, just apply it to now. Hopefully it'll come out the same. It's a good matchup. It's a brilliant price. So Tutu's got a chance to really, go three times at least over that price, I think.
Yep, absolutely love it. And Lewis Wood of the Rewind Show, he picked him this week because he's underrated stud of the week. I just think, it makes complete sense if Cooper Kupp is banged up, or if he's not there at 4,100, he's going to be the wide receiver 2 against a very beatable defense. So yeah, really like that. Obviously Matthew Stafford is back as well, so that's going to be really, really good price if Cooper Kupp misses. My one is back to the Indianapolis Colts Buccaneers game. Is Gardner Minshew, 5,100. It's just, this price is just perfect. I thought it was a mistake, to be honest. Gardner Minshew has been fine. He's not had a massive blow-up game this year. I think he's had one, but recently he's been sort of under average, I'd say. But I just think in this situation, given the Bucs corners could miss, their defense is incredibly banged up, got absolutely shredded by Brock Purdy this week. I can see Gardner Minshew in a shootout putting up 2 or 3 touchdowns, and at 5,100 he can easily hit 15 points and 3x. And I wouldn't rule out a 20+ point game, which would be 4 times, and that in both formats, especially for GPP, with how cheap he is, that is such a value. And that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube at Wildcard DFS and at Fantasy Wildcard. And join us for our show every Wednesday where we'll be dropping it. And if you'd like to take part in our $5 entry winner takes all Wildcard DFS moneymaker, keep your eyes peeled from Thursday onwards because details will be put out on X, where you can join us. And I've not had the privilege of winning yet this season, but perhaps this is my favorite week of the year, so I'm going to take the money this week. So yeah, keep your eye on that. Winner takes all. Come and have a go against us. Thank you once again. Have a good one, and we'll see you again soon.